So in the hotel room, they put the heater on and tried to put rice inside the hotel room, and the fire engine went off, the fire alarm went off. So the police came again, picked them up, and there was another round of interrogation. And this really happened with 2 of our boys. So these kind of things are situations which can be avoided. And once awareness is created, people can make sure that they are safe and sound in the new place. Thank you.
And the way things work in the Western world and here could lead to scenarios where employees are subject to unwarranted or unpleasant situations or experiences. Now, tackling that is also a big challenge, so I would probably like to hear from Shahid what HCL would be looking at doing to try and educate their employees on these kind of matters to ensure that they're not caught in these scenarios.
Thanks, Anuj. Not only from the HCL perspective, but even from the ITIT's perspective, because the kind of movements we have, I think it is mandatory on all of us to ensure that the consultants who will be traveling to on-site location are actually trained, and it would be advisable that we as professionals of immigration take support of the training unit, and also people who are involved in etiquette, because we may directly not be able to support the consultants in the know-how, in the information. I mean, just like how Shiva made a few mention, of some of the illustrations. Some of our youngsters, they would prefer to take some of the MP3 songs in their laptops. At times it so happens that it may be, downloaded from somewhere or it is pirated. Even that becomes an issue at times. So, we need to collaborate with the training units in every organization such that the kind of a package is made for them wherein these guys are put through it. It is not guaranteed that even if you're going to train them, they may not make that mistake or whatever. But we need to be careful. Like in Saudi Arabia, for that matter, everything is written in Arabic. There may be a spot which is, which will very clearly say no photographs. If a guy were to go there and take a picture, he's bound to get picked up. There's some of the things wherein the culture sensitization needs to be looked into. What I would make a very valid point is educating them, helping them to understand, and even in some cases helping them to unlearn is very, very important. Shiva raised a very important aspect of touching base with with the Indian missions on site. I can tell you out of personal experience, there have been very proactive consul generals and Indian high commissioners and Indian ambassadors who have encouraged this in a big way and requested at least the IP guys to go and register with them. And in 2009, when the IPL was happening in South Africa, I was working with another company at that point in time. It so happened that about 5 or 6 of the companies got together, and most of them were from Bangalore. So when the Royal Challengers were playing in South Africa, these guys wanted to cheer them. They all got together for cricket, but they later on realized that if they got together for cricket, they should get together for other better aspects as well. We had a very proactive High Commissioner there by name Mr. Bhatia. So he encouraged and said, okay, the day you land, let somebody from your HR or administration or corporate services send me a fax to say that X or Y or Z has landed over here. We will make a note. Very few Indian missions have actually done this. My suggestion was that yes, this is something wonderful. So at that point in time, my HR head in South Africa ensured that there was a small meeting that took place with the other IT peers, and everybody got together, met Mr. Bhatia in Pretoria, and ensured that this was followed as a process. We did the same in Kenya as well. Of course, we had very proactive guys like Dr. Shukla, who was the Deputy Commissioner out over there. This needs to be done. Wherever we have gone, now that we are getting into many of the emerging geographies, I think it is pertinent that we as immigration professionals, as HR professionals, get together in this synergy with the external stakeholders. So security, not only for us, but even for the guys who go out over there. After all, these are the guys who are helping our ATMs to throw out some money. We need to take care of them from this.
Thank you, Shahid. I completely agree with the wealth of experiential learning Siva and Shahid have brought to the table. I take a more structural and a process view of employee security, and this is one of the forward-looking practices I found in many multinational companies. We have a process where a pretty robust one at that, very staunchly disliked by the delivery guy, but we do have a process which we have proposed to work. And there are a few pillars to this process. One is the company philosophy about caring for its employees who work in an alien location. And the company's philosophy is that none of its employees should be at any point posed with a threat or should be in a dangerous situation for lack of information or education. The company's philosophy is to ensure safety for any of its employees traveling to another country. And there is the second component of how do you educate them, how do you train them, and the choices you make, whether you train them internally or you get an external vendor. The reputed vendors around ISOS, Red 24, you get external vendors like them to train them. Because what we've increasingly realizing that the new age of business is going to be Middle East, Africa, where there's plenty of opportunity, and wherever there is oil, there's typically trouble. But very loosely put, but that's what we see. And as more and more of our rollouts go global, implementation go global, we are going into territories which are largely unexplored in the past. So the second question is, what do you use to train your people? Then the third question is, third parameter to consider, what are the company's legal obligations if you do not train your people, or if you have knowledge that there is a risk to an employee in a certain country and you still send your people out. And in my limited understanding of the French law, and I'm sure Fiona would be able to help us more here, if the company, any company which is listed on the French stock exchange, and has knowledge that there is a risk in a certain country or certain place of deployment, and still willingly deploys its people there, if something happens to the employee, there is a liability the company carries, despite having gone through all the security process, education, etc. So one piece of this is to what extent do you need to do something to protect yourself from a legal aspect. And then the other component per se is the budget. Somebody's got to fund this training. So does the corporate put up a budget? Does each project absorb this cost of this training? And how worthwhile it is? The whole sort of question about it. But as a structure, you need to have something else. And the whole the dimensions to preparing an employee or securing an employee's on-site stay is pretty simple. There is a training which is mandatory, without which travel will not happen. And this is typically done by an external vendor to bring in more robustness. And these are agencies which take care of things like emergency evacuation. I mean, their agency which is held in 2611 or the famous incident of where ETS brought its employees in Rossborough was at the head of things. So these are kind of professional agencies which given their advice based on their experience. The second aspect is the employee voluntarily signs off saying, I have gone through this training, I understood the risk, and I'm willing to travel. Because you can't send an employee against his will. The third aspect is where a certain leader in the business unit signs off saying, yes, I understood the risk, and I'm asking the employee to go, I'm signing off this travel. More like a balance